Hello everybody. In this video I want to just finish the encapsulation section regarding the last part of the chapter, talking about partials classes. And that will actually help us just to have a little bit of separation of concern. When your class is actually too big, you can actually separate those in different files, and that will help you you'll have the different logic in different places. For those, you actually need to use the partial keyword, and at the end, when the compiler, when the .NET compiler compiles everything, it creates just one big class by itself. But in the source code, you can have separated in different them. Let me actually show the example, and we are going to open. I will open the one from the book, the employee app, and let's actually create it. Let's do a .NET. I'm already in my encapsulation folder, so let me just do my .NET new console, and let's call this one, and let's call it the same name as the one in the book. And I call it like that because we're going to need it for the next video. So we create a new one called employee app. We go to the employee application. We open in Visual Studio Code. And what I want to be doing here is going to be something really simple. I will copy and paste from the source code. So let me just put the source code right here. So I'm in the chapter 5. I will open the employee app. And what I want to be doing, I will create a new file. Oh yeah, we need to say yes to this. New file. And let's call this employee. And this one will pretty much have all the employee class by itself, and probably something that we can do is actually minimize this a little bit. So let me use a simple copy and paste. 132 lines, 131, yeah, pretty much the same number. Here we have an issue because we are using the enum that doesn't exist. It's actually this one. So let's copy that name, create a new file, put it in enum, and I will just pretty much copy all this there. There you go. And the error, just get rid of that. Perfect. And with that, I will just go to the program, CSS, and I will get rid of everything. We're going to be using system and employee app, and we're just going to be using this section. Okay, let's keep the read line we want. So this is what it does. It creates a new employee, assign a name, I believe this is an age. You can actually see it over here. So we have the name, we have the age, we have the ID, we have the pay as a float, we have the social security number and the pay type, right? And then we check how to do the pay. What is the pay by itself? It should be 1,000. We give it a bonus. That bonus is a function, so we have right here, wait a second. There you go. That is the text depending which type of enum the person is. In this case, it's going to be salaried. So you're just going to increase the pay with the new amount. So that means that the new pay should be 1,100 pretty much, right? That verifies this actually works. I will open my terminal. I opened that one with Command Shift P or Control Shift P, depending on your Mac or Windows computer. Info.net run. I just create Marvin as an employee, and I'm printing 1,000 and 1,100 because we give it a bonus of 1,000 because it's a salary one, right? Really straightforward. The application is working the way that it's supposed to. So what I want to give now is just give you the example what is actually that um, parcel that we can actually execute. But before that, let's actually clean up this a little bit. Probably it's too big. So we have the private EMP name with name, and we have the validation. We know that this one can be actually interpreted something like this, and it should work. Yeah, it's no more kind of abstract. So we can actually just do this one over here, and we should be fine. The employer ID and the ID. As you can see, the employer ID we don't need it because we can do it directly through the ID. We have that kind of validation, so we can get rid of this. And for this one, we just do a simple get. And let me try to copy everything. Right, it should be fine. For the pay, as you can see, it's exactly the same. So let's put that one right here. We don't need to have the private one. Let's put the abstract to actually generate that for us. What else do we have here? The age is exactly the same. Oops. And then private employee pay type, public employee pay type. This actually could be the same too. Social security number, we keep this one as it is because we have a custom private setting. And then we have the constructions. And with this module, we assign those values right there where it's supposed to be. So we should be fine with those. Let's get rid of this comment from here. Right. I don't know if we can put this one in one line. Oops. Let me just get back where it was. Here. I will do the same with this one. Doesn't make sense to have it there. Right. Then we have this constructor. That's pretty much very similar. We can get rid of this. Alright, we're using the properties ones, so we should be fine. We don't have any errors so far. What else we can do here? We have the give bonus. We just have yes, it just said we should be fine. We can get rid of this comment. We can get rid of this one to display stats. Just keep it as it is. And we have the accessor and the mutator. Right? What we can do with the set name should be just to simplify it. We can actually just put name equal value. Oops. And value should be like this. Oh, name equal name, sorry. We're using this name from here. And we can get rid of all this from here. Yeah. So we just delete like 50 lines. We have a somehow simplified version, I will say like that. It's not that big anymore. and we should have the same result. So let me try to execute it again, and we should have the 1000 and 1100. There you go. So we just minimize this one a little bit, and we're able to handle validations and the different areas. Yes, and with the constructors and everything. Cool. So we're able to minimize this a little bit. So what the book's actually telling us regarding is that we can actually separate the concern and have one part in one file and one part in the another. So and they actually give us like a name, employee.core.css, and they say the name doesn't matter, right? So here we keep the properties itself of the class, and in the other one we just keep the rest of the information like the methods, things like that. So for this, let's actually start with using system and using system text. So we're going to use those, and we're going to the namespace of employee app, right? And we have our partial class called employee. And then we will define the different sections right here. So when we define this as a partial class and we have this name, now we have an issue here because telling us that we are missing the partial modifier. We will put partial here. Should be enough, and everything should be running the way that it's supposed to, right? So for giving an example of this change, let's actually create something different. Let's do public string nickname. Let's call it like that. And it should be a simple get pet. Right? So we should be able to here just do employee dot nickname. As you can see, we have access is equal of let's call marp maybe, and then we can actually do right. Let me check the nickname, and let me check it out before and after, right? So before it should be, and let's put it at the default value here, equal no nickname, right? Let's put a default one. So with that, we just do a .NET run. We have a no nickname first, then we assign it the value marp, and we can actually see that the nickname now is marp, right? So we're able. This looks like a little bit like extending the class, but it's not. It's the same one at the end. The only difference is a different partial. So in this partial, we just having the nickname field, and that nickname is just adding something. But at the end, in the compilation, these two files, because they are actually the same partial from the same class, they just put together as a one big class. So it's no inheritance, right? We will see inheritance in the next video. This was just encapsulation, and you can encapsulate the information in different sections, different areas, right? So let me get rid of the nickname. We don't need that actually. And let's start moving things around. So I believe one of the things that we can just do to simplify this is as simple as copying and pasting everything, right? So we should be able to go, and where we can actually copy and paste whatever we need. So let's actually get all the properties. So we're going to do all this just before the constructor. Oops. Let me get back to all this. There you go. I do Ctrl X. Right. Actually, let me get this comment too. Control X, right? Now we see that everything is complaining, nothing of that actually exists. If we go to the employee core and we actually change that nickname for all that we just copy and we paste it, we don't see any error anymore. And again, let me just get out, let me execute, and we have the same functionality that we had at the beginning. So with something as simple as this, we were able to do the partial and just copying over what we did, just copy the properties ones. That's it, we keep the properties in one place, and then we keep the constructors and the methods in the other one, including the access mutators, right? We're just keeping those as legacy one, but those actually working the way they're supposed to be, right? So what we need to do now, before I wrap up this video, let me just send this code to GitHub so you will be able to get it, right? So let me just go right here. Perfect. Let's put the ones to the right, and let's call employee app, and let's call this class partial example. And let's just to keep consistency here, the only things that we'll do, example, modify it from the book, right? We're just keeping that because we're actually taking code from that book. And let's actually put the one in C#, right? Just to have it there, create a repository. Perfect. We're going to go to the git ignore.io. Oops. Git ignore.io. I'm going to use, in my case, as a Mac, Visual Studio Code, .NET Core, C#, and that should be it. Copy everything, copy. I can do a simple code.git ignore. That would, because I'm in the folder, I just open that file for me. I paste, I save it, and I can do git init, git add everything, git commit, example done. We go back to here, we just add the origin, and we do the push. So you should be able to have access to the code. In my case, it's origin master, no origin main. There you go. If we refresh it, we have just the source code the way it's supposed to be. And I was doing this because we're actually going to need this for the next video. So partials is actually really easy to use. They're not complicated. It's just to separate code concepts regarding some files, so you can have separation on logic in the source code. But by the end, the .NET will put all together. Any other question, any other doubt, don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.